What's up to us?
Us?
Stick with me.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at why Dreamworks' live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon soars miles above Disney's recent half-assed attempts at reimagining classics.
Figure out which side you're on.
Maintaining the humor. You get the sense that Disney's live-action remakes are striving to be more quote-unquote adult than the animated versions.
Need a hand, little man?
Insult me again and you'll taste the tip of my blade.
Lower your sword.
What?
This approach often comes at the expense of the original's charm, not to mention humor. The Mulan remake in particular took itself far too seriously, resulting in a straight-faced snooze fest. While the How to Train Your Dragon remake preserves the original's mature coming-of-age themes, it doesn't do away with comedy in the process.
Maybe they're not as bad as we think they are.
There's still a fair deal of levity to be found in Hiccup's interactions with Toothless. Nick Frost captures Gobber's jolly spirit without merely doing a Craig Ferguson impression. Like its predecessor, the remake isn't afraid to be dark, but it understands the importance of having light at the end of the tunnel.
What are you gonna do about it?
Probably something stupid.
New scenes that add depth. Although it hits virtually all the same beats as the 2010 film, this version does add a few extra scenes. Unlike the live-action Beauty and the Beast though, they're additions that actually make sense and offer more insight into who these characters are.
Think of the one place you've always wanted to see. Now find it in your mind's eye, and then feel it in your heart.
An early conversation between Hiccup and Astrid helps lay the groundwork for their relationship, as she begins to see that maybe the chief's screw-up son is more than he seems. Familiar scenes are also extended with more details.
The kid wants this more than anything. Believe it or not, that young man actually wants to make you proud.
Valka is briefly mentioned during Stoic's chat with Gobber, setting up Hiccup's mother for the sequel. Side characters like Hiccup's fellow teenagers and the elder Gothi are given a bit more screen time as well, expanding upon the supporting cast without losing focus.
You all need to see this!
The cinematography. Disney's live-action remakes have been repeatedly criticized for sucking out the vibrant colors that made the originals leap off the screen.
What happened that day was not my fault.
Ooh, dear.
How to Train Your Dragon avoids this, with atmospheric green backdrops that immerse us in nature. It's in the aerial sequences where the film soars, however. The 2010 film simulated the sensation of flight like few others have. Cinematographer Bill Pope pulls off a similar feat here, making the audience feel as if they're spiraling through the air with Hiccup and Toothless. It's not surprising that this material translates well to live action, as the animated film had a visual consultant and cinematographer Roger Deakins. Among Deakins' duties was to help give the animated movie a live-action feel, proving a natural launchpad for this remake. The music. Disney's animated library has given us some of cinema's most timeless soundtracks, which the remakes have routinely butchered. Even Elton John, who returned for 2019's The Lion King, felt the remake messed the music up. Although How to Train Your Dragon isn't a musical, John Powell's Oscar-nominated score was an integral part of the film's life force. Powell returns as the live-action film's composer, and his sweeping score still elevates us out of our seats.
John Powell is the first person I called about doing How to Train Your Dragon as a live-action movie. The music that John creates is iconic.
Powell once again hits all the right notes, staying true to the original sound, while further exploring Burke through the power of music. You may go in with crossed arms, but even the most critical viewers can't deny that when the test driving score kicks in, you're on cloud 9.
One of the things I had to do was try and restructure things. If I've done my job right, people will think I haven't done anything different at all.
The CGI. When it comes to CGI, Disney remakes notoriously confuse realism for believability. Yeah, the CG Sebastian looks more like an actual crab, but that doesn't give him more personality.
Sebastian, if you had just seen it up there. The ship rode on the wind, and they filled the sky with fire.
Okay, listen to me. The human world is a mess. Life under the sea is better than anything they got going on up there.
We're grateful that the How to Train Your Dragon remake doesn't give us the gritty version of Toothless, keeping his expressive face and soulful eyes. Granted, some might argue that Toothless's cartoonish appearance contrasts with the other dragons, who are redesigned to look more like the ones you'd see in Harry Potter. Still, when the dragons need to appear threatening, they're intimidating without being visually unappealing. When they need to look cute, you want to take one home in plush form. The filmmakers aimed for a balance between realism and whimsy, which we think they achieved.
The hope was that as people watched the movie, they would realize, oh, my cat does that. Or I've seen my dog do that exact same thing.
The practical sets. From Alice in Wonderland to Snow White, Disney remakes are wall-to-wall with so much CGI that it ironically defeats the purpose of retelling these stories in live action.
Is this normal or just something you do among friends?
Although the live-action take on How to Train Your Dragon certainly isn't devoid of blue screen, it does try to incorporate as many practical set pieces as possible. This gives Burke a lived-in feel, transporting the audience to locales like the Dragon Arena.
Going into the arena for the first time, I remember Dean was like, really amp up how cool this is.
In addition to the practical sets, the filmmakers also work in natural backdrops, shooting in Belfast, Northern Ireland. The towering cliffs, green landscapes, and mighty shorelines capture the essence of Burke while bringing a mystical element that makes us believe a dragon could fly over at any moment.
All the footage we have from the most amazing landscapes create this living, breathing world of Burke.
Diversity done right. While we appreciate Disney's attempts to be more diverse, casting talented actresses like Rachel Zegler and Halle Bailey isn't enough. You need to give them good scripts with well-rounded characters, which their remakes aren't exactly known for. Nico Parker, who is mixed race, plays Astrid in the live-action How to Train Your Dragon. While Astrid was already a strong-willed heroine, the remake takes a little more time delving into her aspirations.
This role was a complete dream come true.
Although the film never calls attention to her skin color, Astrid's determination to be the best does reflect the additional trials women of color often face climbing the ladder. Burke in general is more diverse without coming off as forced, explaining that the island is comprised of dragon hunters from around the world.
Having the opportunity to do this kind of world building and to revisit characters but with a fresh spin is just super exciting to me.
Not overcomplicating or overcorrecting the story. Tweaking a story to align with a modern mindset is understandable, but in Disney's desperate pursuit to appear more progressive, they frequently make changes that just aren't necessary.
And in truth, Snow White nearly forgot herself.
If anything, they distract from or either betray the original's message. You could argue How to Train Your Dragon is at an advantage, since it's a remake of a more contemporary classic. Of course, so is Lilo and Stitch, which Disney still managed to overthink.
Look, David, I got a dog.
Oh? You sure that's a dog?
Yeah.
Rough. The Dragon remake doesn't shoehorn in unnecessary subplots, like Astrid wanting to be a marine biologist, or giving the Red Death a sympathetic origin story. Rather, the remake builds upon what worked in the original, retaining its essential story beats without losing any of their impact. If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
It's okay. I won't hurt you.
The casting. Be it a Belle who can't sing or a Geppetto who can't do an Italian accent, it only takes one bad casting choice to tank a remake.
Almost real boy. An almost real boy.
There isn't a weak link in the Dragon cast. Gerard Butler was tailor-made to play Stoic the Vast, be it voiceover or live action. As powerful as the character animation in the original was, seeing Butler's charismatic face helps to distinguish this remake.
I look like a Viking. I feel like an epic Viking.
Nico Parker and Nick Frost, as mentioned before, are wonderful choices for their respective roles. Yet, the film's success largely rests on the shoulders of Mason Thames, who couldn't be more authentic as Hiccup. As he did in The Black Phone, Thames convincingly matures from an insecure outcast to someone who takes control of their destiny.
How much this movie means to me and how much Hiccup means to me is more than words can describe.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Respecting the original. Let's face it, Disney's live-action remakes are the cinematic equivalent of one artist tracing over another's work. While Dreamworks' first remake also follows a blueprint, bringing back one of the original's directors helps. Dean DeBlois knows this world inside and out, having helmed the animated trilogy. He brings that passion to this remake, turning in a faithful adaptation. Maybe faithful to a fault, as the changes here are admittedly minimal.
For me in particular, I think there is a core relationship at the center of this, which is about finding your own voice.
If Hollywood insists on translating this material into live action though, we're glad that it's in the hands of someone who understands and respects what the original accomplished. At the very least, DeBlois' involvement makes for an interesting experiment that has a more personal touch than anything Disney has manufactured with their recent remakes.
You know, it was certainly daunting at first when you think, where do we even start?
How do you think the live action How to Train Your Dragon compares to Disney's copy and paste jobs? Let us know in the comments.
You all need to see this!